What's going on, guys? So today's video is kind of an answer to a question somebody emailed me, and I was going to post this on my BTBRV Life channel, but I figured that this is definitely more relevant to folks who watch my BTBRV channel. And this is from a gentleman who's considering buying an F350 for a fifth wheel. I'm imagining it's a single rear wheel truck since it has a towing capacity of 16,500 pounds. That or it's a relatively old truck. I'm not sure, he didn't put the year. And he says that he has a fifth wheel when loaded that weighs 14,495 pounds. He references that 80% rule, and I'm imagining he's talking about 80% of the weight is going to rest on the trailer axles and 20% will rest on the back of your truck. That's what I'm theorizing, at least. And he asked if he needs more truck with additional towing capacity. In regards to payload, he has 3,742 pounds worth of payload capacity and a pin weight for his trailer of 2,200 pounds. So the 3,742 pound total cargo capacity, the one thing you have to keep in mind is that the payload capacity on the sticker of your truck does not mean that's the payload capacity that is applied to just the weight of a trailer you load onto your pin. That is total payload capacity within the truck for people, supplies, everything, including your hitch, all of that stuff. And usually you want to account for anywhere between 800 to 1,000 pounds of stuff before you ever load your pin into the back of the truck. That accounts for a family of 4, that accounts for equipment, tools, stuff you may keep in your truck, as well as the hitch in the bed of your truck, which can weigh upwards of 250 pounds or more, depending on what type of hitch it is, especially if it's a sliding hitch. Then it will definitely weigh on the higher end of those numbers. Now, 2,200 pounds for pin weight for an RV that weighs roughly 1,450 pounds is, I think, very conservatively light. In my opinion, you really need to go and get your pin weight weighed at a CAT scale or just get it weighed at some type of a scale, because for a 14,500 pound RV, you're talking about 2,900 pounds worth of pin weight if you're factoring the average 20% transferring to your truck. So you're almost at 3,000 pounds right there. So you do want to make sure that you have enough payload capacity remaining to be able to support everything in your vehicle. Now, if it's only a couple and you don't pack a lot of stuff and you go with a lighter weight hitch, then yeah, you've saved yourself some weight right there. But at 3,700 pounds worth of cargo capacity, you should be fine for that size of trailer. Now, if it's a newer truck and you're saying you have 16,500 pounds worth of towing capacity, I'm imagining it's a gas truck and not a diesel. If it's a gas truck, depending on the gear ratio of that truck, you may be fine towing an RV that size. Of course, it's not going to tow it as efficiently, it's not going to tow it quite as well, and you're going to see a huge hit in terms of fuel economy, but you're within your numbers. Your payload capacity seems to be right, your towing capacity seems to be right, and you should be okay with that type of setup. The challenge you may have is because you don't have an engine exhaust brake, you may not be able to slow down as effectively. You'll be putting more wear and tear on your brakes than you would if you had a diesel truck that has an engine exhaust brake. That basically will help slow the truck and trailer down as you decelerate. But yeah, the truck setup sounds okay. I just don't know the conditions you're going to be towing in. I don't know specifically how long of trips you go on. You may be in an okay position because your numbers all align, but you do have to be very careful in terms of towing downhill whenever your brakes can really heat up and you really want as much assistance as possible slowing down a trailer. 14,500 pound fifth wheel is a good size fifth wheel. To give you an idea, that's roughly the same size and weight as the Coachman Chaparral that we had, which was a 40-foot long fifth wheel. And you can certainly tell it's behind you. At no point did we not know that the RV was behind us, even when we were accelerating or decelerating, even when we had the F450 towing it. So, you know, a truck that is far more capable than what is needed towing a fifth wheel that's relatively light, you could certainly tell that it was back there. You could certainly tell that it was pushing against the truck when you would start to slow down. So, as much as I would love to say that your rig is perfect for your trailer because your numbers align, RVers are kind of an interesting breed, right? We go to different places. We travel in areas that we may not have been before. We try to explore this country. And you may find yourself in a scenario, mainly when you're trying to decelerate going downhill, that you may not feel as if your truck is able to adequately slow down your trailer. So you're going to want to be sure that you have your trailer brakes dialed in very well. You've taken care of ensuring that your trailer brake controller is set up properly, and you're in a really, really good position to be able to slow down your rig. Towing it, yeah, you'll put a little bit more wear and tear on a gas V8 engine. You're going to definitely strain it a little bit more than you would a diesel, assuming that's what you have, but you should be okay for the most part. Just don't try to do any, hard launch accelerations while you're towing. Try to mitigate as much wear and tear as possible and be responsible when you're driving. Now, again, because you're asking, because you're specifically trying to find out if you have the right rig, I do think you have a decent rig. I don't think that you're in a scenario to where things are, right on that very, very edge of possibly being safe or not safe. But again, I don't know specifically what type of truck you have. I don't know what type of truck you're considering getting. You say an F350, but again, I need to know, is this a pre-owned truck? Is this a brand new truck? Are there miles on the truck? What was the truck used for before? There's so many factors that go into understanding if you can reasonably tow something and how long you can do that for and how safe it would be overall that I just don't have the answer to. However, if you're talking about a new truck, right? If you're talking a new F350 single rear wheel gas truck with a 7.3 liter, V8 gas engine, then you're probably going to be pretty good for the most part, but understanding how things can go from really good to kind of sketchy whenever you're trying to slow down. The big part that you're going to have to really factor in is how you have your brakes set up on both the truck and the RV. When you're slowing down, you're going to want to make sure that the trailer is definitely helping the truck. At the same time, though, long decelerations down really, really steep grades are certainly going to be a little sketchy for you. So that's the only thing I definitely want to caution you about. That said, though, if I was going to say the ideal truck for towing a trailer, 14,500 pounds, roughly 2,900 to 3,000 pounds worth of hitch weight, because that's probably closer to where you're going to be. If you're looking at the manufacturer's website of the RV and it says 2,200 pounds, that's probably dry weight or based off of dry weight with very, very little, if anything, loaded into the front of your RV or your basement storage area. But once you get fully loaded up, that 20% number is definitely going to be higher than that 2,200 pounds for the most part, unless you just don't take anything with you. Ideally, the truck for you would probably be an F350, but with the diesel engine, even though you'll sacrifice some payload capacity, I would recommend going to a higher payload capacity version of the truck, because if you get the trim package that you currently have with the gas engine and you have 3,700 pounds worth of cargo capacity, well, if you have a diesel, all of a sudden that number is going to drop by like 600 to 700 pounds, and you're going to have like 3,000 pounds worth of cargo capacity, and you'll definitely be overweight once the people and supplies and everything else get loaded into your truck. So if you can get an F350 single rear wheel with a diesel engine in it, and you can find a cargo capacity at about 4,000 pounds, 3,700 to 4,000 pounds with the diesel, I think you'll be in pretty good shape. But you may have that truck now, so I just don't know. Again, I didn't get enough information. You may have a high payload version of that truck. The thing that is throwing me off slightly is your towing capacity. If you're saying your towing capacity is 16,500 pounds, that is more in line with a gas engine. So even though your payload's relatively high, a gas-equipped truck is going to have more of that limitation in terms of towing capacity, and that may be what you're trying to tell me, but when you say 16,500 pounds. But again, if you want to respond in the comments section and explain a little bit more in detail what truck you're looking at, is it a diesel truck, which I really doubt it is unless it's a much older diesel truck. If this truck is like built in the early 2000s, it probably does have a 16,500 pound capacity, even if it were a dually. So yeah, more details are needed, but I hope this video helps everybody who's trying to figure out what type of trailer you can haul with a certain type of truck, especially trying to understand if your payload capacity that you're seeing on the door sticker, if you think that applies to just being able to haul a trailer, you're really, really off. You're really wrong there. Only about 60-65% of the payload capacity numbers on the sticker on your door applies to trailering. The rest of it is the stuff you put inside of your truck. So just keep that in mind. Anyways, guys, I sure hope you enjoyed this video. I felt this was a good question, and one that I often get, but I figured I'd try to put this in a way that was really easy to understand, especially considering how many folks have trucks that are so close to being maxed out from a sticker perspective, not realizing that that sticker number isn't just for towing. Anyways, guys, if you haven't had a chance, please take a moment, subscribe to the channel, give me a thumbs up. We'll talk to you again very soon.